The day began without warning. No alarms. No screams. No sense that anything was about to go wrong. It was the kind of morning people forget as soon as it passes. Sunlight slipped through curtains. Coffee brewed. Phones were checked. Doors were locked the same way they had been locked 1,000 times before. They woke up on time. They followed routine. Nothing felt rushed. Nothing felt strange. Neighbors would later say they saw them. A wave. A nod. A familiar face heading out the door. Someone remembers a laugh. Someone remembers footsteps fading down the street. This is what makes the story dangerous. Not the fear. The normality. Because disappearances are supposed to announce themselves. They are supposed to be loud. They are supposed to leave chaos behind. This one didn't. Cars stayed parked where they always parked. Lights were turned off. Beds were made. Personal items were left behind, not scattered, not destroyed. Time moved forward like nothing had happened. Hours passed. Then more. Messages went unanswered. Calls rang until silence swallowed them. At first, no one panicked. People are busy. People miss texts. People run late. But as the day stretched on, unease crept in. A slow pressure. A feeling that something small had shifted out of place. By evening, concern replaced patience. By night, worry hardened into fear. Because the truth was simple and impossible at the same time. They had vanished. Not during a storm. Not during a crisis. Not during the dark. They disappeared on a normal day. And whatever took them didn't leave behind violence. It left behind questions. Questions that would grow sharper with time. Questions that would refuse to fade. Because when nothing looks wrong, that's usually when something is. And the silence that followed would never truly break again. At first, the details felt harmless. Easy to explain. Easy to ignore. A door that wasn't locked the way it always was. Shoes placed neatly by the wall, but never worn. A phone left behind, fully charged, resting where it shouldn't have been. Nothing screamed danger. Nothing looked forced. It was the kind of scene that tricks the mind. Because if nothing is broken, nothing must be wrong. That's what people tell themselves. But the longer investigators looked, the heavier the silence became. Keys were still inside. Wallets never moved. Important plans scheduled for later that day were never cancelled. One message sat half-written. One email was never sent. One routine action was started, then abandoned. That's when the timeline began to crack. Because people don't walk away from their lives without a reason. They don't leave behind the tools they need to exist. Someone noticed the trash hadn't been taken out. Something so small it barely mattered. Except it had always been done, without fail. A pet was left waiting. Food untouched. Water bowls full. Time froze in tiny ways. Neighbors replayed the day in their minds. Every glance. Every sound. Every passing moment. But memory is unreliable. It bends under pressure. One person remembered a car. Another remembered silence. Another remembered nothing at all. The unsettling truth began to form. If something happened, it happened fast. Too fast to react. Too fast to leave a mess. No signs of struggle. No obvious destination. No clear reason to leave. Just absence. And absence is the hardest thing to investigate. Because it doesn't fight back. It doesn't leave fingerprints. It simply waits. The deeper authorities looked, the less sense it made. Each normal detail became suspicious. Each familiar habit became a clue. But the most disturbing realization hadn't surfaced yet. Because these weren't random objects left behind. They were choices. Interrupted choices. And something had stopped them mid-thought. Mid-step. Mid-life. Whatever happened didn't give them time to be afraid. And that raised a question no one wanted to ask yet. What kind of event leaves no evidence, but erases people completely? The final confirmed moments were painfully ordinary. That's what makes them impossible to forget. A receipt printed at a local store. A short phone call that ended without urgency. A routine stop that didn't raise suspicion at the time. Security cameras caught fragments. Never the full picture. Just pieces that feel incomplete when played back now. There they are, walking normally. No rush. No fear. Their posture relaxed. Their movements familiar. They didn't look like people about to disappear. The timestamp matters. Because after that minute, the record goes dark. No more messages. No more footage. No digital trail moving forward. Investigators rebuilt the route again and again. Street by street. Minute by minute. Somewhere between point A and point B, something intervened. A witness remembered seeing them pause. Just for a second. As if listening. As if distracted. Another witness said they never noticed anything unusual. Which is almost worse. Because it suggests whatever happened blended perfectly into the day. No screams reported. No sudden movement. No signs of panic. Their last known actions were responsible ones. They weren't running away. They weren't hiding. They were simply living. That's when the theories began to split. Some believed it was voluntary. Others said that was impossible. Because you don't plan a disappearance like this. Not without preparation. Not without removing traces. And this disappearance was sloppy. Or maybe intentionally clean. The gap between the last sighting and the first moment of concern was wide. Too wide. Plenty of time for something to happen. Plenty of time for someone to step in. Or something else. Searches expanded outward. Dogs followed scents that led nowhere. Cameras showed empty paths. It was as if the day had swallowed them whole. And then came the discovery that changed everything. Something had been found. Something small. Something that should not have been there. It didn't explain what happened. But it proved one thing. They didn't just walk away. The item was discovered days later. Not far away. Close enough to make people uneasy. It was ordinary. Too ordinary to matter on its own. But in this case, it changed everything. It wasn't hidden. It wasn't damaged. It was placed. Right where someone would have had to stop. Right where they would have had to decide something. Investigators stared at it longer than they should have. Because objects tell stories when people can't. There were no signs of force. No blood. No clear struggle. But the absence around it was loud. What should have been there wasn't. No bag. No jacket. No explanation for why this single thing remained while everything else vanished. It felt deliberate. Almost careful. Search teams widened the area. More ground. More questions. Still nothing. No tracks leading away. No vehicle confirmed. No direction to follow. Digital records were checked again. Bank activity stopped. Online presence froze. It was as if time cut them off mid-sentence. Theories flooded in. Some comforting. Some terrifying. A planned disappearance didn't fit. An accident didn't explain the placement. A crime left no scars. And then one final detail surfaced. Quietly. Almost overlooked. Someone else had disappeared the same way. Different place. Different time. Same pattern. A normal day. A clean break. A single object left behind. That's when fear changed shape. Because one mystery is tragic. Two is coincidence. But more than that? That's when people start to wonder if the day itself is the trap. If routine is the cover. If whatever takes people doesn't need chaos. It just waits for everything to feel normal. And to this day, no one can say what happened after that moment. Only that nothing ever made sense again.